and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Liz Armour and I'm an administrator here at the Coroner's Court Support Service. I'd like to welcome you all to our Here For You webinar. Let's run through what we'll be covering today. How we started, what we do, how we can help those attending court, the volunteers' role, our national helpline, the role of a CCSS coordinator, including feedback from families and coroners, and lastly, our national expansion plan. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be doing live Q&A after each section. We'll not be leaving all the questions until the end, so please pop your questions through as we go so that we can answer some of them for you. Firstly, let me introduce you to the team and today's panellists. From left to right, we have Roey Burden, Founder Trustee, Beverley Ratcliffe, Director, Mike Jackson, Southwest Coordinator, Sandra Weldon, South Coordinator, Samantha Catt, Helpline Manager and Northeast Coordinator, Tom North, Coordinator for the Northwest, and Paul Mellish, Regional Manager and Southern Coordinator. These are the 7 people who will be delivering the session and answering your questions. So let's get going, starting with Roey, who's going to tell us about how the CCSS came into being.
Hello everyone. I wish I could see you, but I can't. As you all know and have probably heard, but I will tell it to you. In 2002, I attended an inquest with my cousin Elizabeth and her family because very sadly they'd lost David, their son and brother, a year before following an horrific motor car accident in Tasmania. At the time I was a volunteer with the witness service and imagined that there would be a support service at the coroner's court, but there was nothing, and we arrived to find a lot of people milling around, not knowing where to go, what to do, and one very harassed coroner's officer trying to organise everything. As a result, we all went into court at the same time for the 4 inquests that were being held that morning. David's was the second inquest, and my cousin Elizabeth had to go into the witness box to give evidence of identification because she was with me at the mortuary when the coroner's officer came. It was not very easy for her to do that, but she did. And then David's friend, who'd been with him at the time of the accident and had been trapped beside him for 2 hours until help came with David, who David died instantly. And he had to give evidence, and poor boy, he'd lost an eye, he was facially deformed, and he'd part of his leg. And he had to relive that awful experience all over again. We came out of the court, and all I can say is that they just collapsed with grief. It was really horrendous. There was no one around. I'd taken tissues, but there was no water that I could find. And then the next inquest came out, and likewise, they were equally distressed. It was a really awful moment. And as a result, on the way home, I thought, why is there not a support service there, as there is in the criminal courts? And why don't we do something about it? So I made some inquiries and was told that there was no funding for it. Well, lots of charities start with no funding at all. And that evening, I attended a management committee meeting of Victim Support Westminster, and I told them what a horrendous experience it had been that day, and asked them if they would support me if we tried to set up a service. And they did. They said they would support. And I asked my friend Annie if she would help, and she was absolutely in agreement with me that it would be a really essential thing to do. So we made an appointment to see Dr. Natman, who was the coroner at the time in the Westminster Coroner's Court. And although he was very surprised, he did say, go ahead, we'll give it a 3-month trial. And during those 3 months, between the 2 of us, we attended every single inquest. At the end of that time, he said to us, it's been such a success. The coroner's officers find it an enormous help. because they know the families are being looked after and they can concentrate on running the inquest. And the families obviously know what to expect and what they're expected to do, which helps them, and they seem to be much more relaxed. I think we should go live. So on the 1st of January 2003, we started officially. And in October of that year, we took on our very first volunteer, who I'm delighted to say she is still with us at the Westminster Court. And from then on, it expanded outwards to the other London courts, and then to Essex, which was the first one outside London, followed by Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire, and Milton Keynes. And then eventually we got round to working in Surrey, again at the request of the coroner, and that is where Beverley joined us.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Roey. Let's see if we've got any questions that have come through.
None at the moment, Liz.
Okay, maybe that was so comprehensive, Roey, that nobody's got any questions for you. Or as you say, they may well have heard that before. Okay, no questions so far. So now we know how the CCSS began, let me pass you on to Beverley, who's going to talk a bit about what we do.
Thanks, Liz. And thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And to Roey, obviously, the impact of attending her family's inquest is one we should, I think, always remember, just to push us forward and to keep us motivated and going on to become a national service, because actually that's the reason why Roey started the organisation in the first place. So good afternoon, everyone. And as Liz said, I am the Director of the Coroner's Court Support Service. Hopefully I know most of you, if not all of you. So thank you all so much for attending. It's been such a great turnout that we're so pleased on our first webinar to have such a good turnout. So thank you for that. I was thinking also that this would have been lovely had we been able to all get together physically to see each other. And as Roey said, you know, you can see us, but we can't see you. But actually what it has enabled us to do is to get so many of us together, 100 people, in such a short space of time. We only started to think about this a couple of weeks ago. And so actually, you know, having a virtual webinar is not great. It's not as good as meeting each other in person, but actually it's enabled us to get together very quickly, and so many of us together as well. So thank you all for attending. So, you know, the webinar was really, really successful, and, you know, we have been oversubscribed for it. Many more people did actually want to attend, but because of the limits on the number of people that can attend, we weren't able to have everybody here. So I'd like to start by sharing some information about the actual numbers of people we supported between April and December last year. We've obviously only done, well, I've only done April to December because soon after, in the beginning of the year, we had COVID hit us all. So we've taken the figures from last year. And we supported 57,761 people, and almost half of those were bereaved families. So the average, that average out to about 5,776 people being supported each month. And I think, you know, when you think about it, that's such a fantastic number of people that you're all supporting. So, and it is down to your incredible hard work and the incredible hard work of the staff. I absolutely couldn't do it without you all. The team of staff are just fantastic. So we've got 372 volunteers and a small team of staff, 7 staff. And so I do want to say thank you all very much for that. And you do make such a positive difference to the people you come into contact with. So I find it incredible that we have come such a long way, and we are now offering the service in 45 out of the 88 coronial areas. Our strengths definitely lie with our people. They're underpinned with a very real desire to help, along with kindness, patience, and our ability to listen. But we also top that off with a huge amount of focus, a huge amount of drive, and oodles of passion, and a belief in our values of support, trust, integrity, openness and collaboration. And we do indeed have some very stoic volunteers and staff. So it's always a pleasure to talk about our organisation and our vision to create a national service. I never tire of talking about the service, and I am very passionate about what we are all trying to achieve, and how we all, you know, it's such a powerful thing helping people through such a difficult time and such an emotional time in their lives. Even though we're meeting them or speaking with them for such a very short space of time, being here for someone is like a lifeline for them. And we do that through our, obviously through our national helpline and through our volunteer presence in the coroner's courts. And the team will talk to you more about our work throughout this webinar. Before I hand over to Mike, I want to conclude by saying we are focused on creating a national volunteer presence in each and every coroner's court in England and Wales, and generating the income to do that. And just to remind you all that our vision is and always has been to set the service up in all of the coroner's courts in England and Wales, to ensure bereaved families, witnesses and others have access to justice and the support they are entitled to and should be offered wherever they attend an inquest.